Welcome back. This is Sunday Express, and tonight, as we end the 16 days of activism, the question is, what are stakeholders within the community, or rather in the social strata, doing to ensure that one way or another we eradicate gender-based violence, given the statistics that have already been received is at least 34% of women and girls experience physical and sexual abuse. 13% have faced sexual violence at a point in their lives, and the question is, the numbers continue to increase even as we work at creating awareness. So is it time to think outside the box? Now, that particular story that has been prepared by Kamchemanza sets the set, or rather this conversation here tonight on Sunday Express, using arts, for anti-GBV. Is it working? Now, we are joined by none other than a visual artist by the name RAPHAEL Seleti. Thank you very much for making time. And I have to say, your artwork is, quite compelling. They say art transcends age, genre, even borders. But the question is, Mr. Seleti, why did you use art? Why is your art themed around GBV?
Thank you so much. My name is RAPHAEL Seleti. I'm a visual artist, and I love to, use art as a form of giving a voice, to social issues. And art for me is something that speaks, very loudly. It's something that can directly, somebody can be intimate, with it visually. They can consume it, they can see what's happening. And it can be a very powerful way of, passing a message, right? Empowering and also educating, people, the public, everybody.
So you made a conscious decision, your art, to depict GBV. Now, we have this particular piece, and I think it is quite emotive. It's very striking. So tell us, what was the thought process behind this particular piece, and what does it mean to you?
So this piece, I call it Roots of Autonomy.
Roots of Autonomy.
Roots of Autonomy. And so it's, at least from a visual perspective, it's very striking, right? And that's the good thing with art, is like it can immediately capture their attention.
Yes.
And it's a tree, right? But it's in the shape of a lady, a woman, and it's incubating a baby, a fetus. So this piece, the reason I did it is to basically around, the life-giving power of a woman, right?
Yeah.
As a sacred, and as a sacred, duty. It's not something that's political. It's not something that's an opinion, but it's something that's sacred, something that is natural, a natural sacred duty, right? Yeah. And so when it comes, to things like, like abortion and such kind of things, it's not up to, an external party, somebody, to, tell you, this is how, things should go about, it's a natural thing. And I think, it speaks to a lot of people because, it's, there is a lot of like stigma about, especially, there is a lot of pregnancies, and you'll find that a lot of, young, girls, they'll, think, I've gotten pregnant, and this is, it's been shown like is a bad thing, because, they're young. But, it has happened, and it's a natural thing, and it should be respected, right? And, life is, something that should not be debated, right?
Yes. Life is priceless, as
life is priceless.
So what other reactions have you gotten, with your striking pieces, especially on gender-based violence? You have, that one is about pro-choice, pro-life. Then we have this. What are the reactions that you've gotten from, displaying your artwork? Yes.
So I've gotten a lot of positive reactions, I would say, because like this one, I call it Echoes of Silence.
Echoes of Silence.
Echoes of Silence. Yeah. And it's a lady, holding her face. She's looking down. She looks distraught, traumatized. And then in the background, you can see there's like this kind of shadow silhouettes or figures of, intimidating men people, lurking, behind her. And it's, supposed to show, the oppressors and these people, generally who make, ladies, who they the people like who are responsible for violence. And so like with my art, I realized that some of them it will have like this emotional aspect to it, and somebody will look at it and they'll somebody say who has experienced sexual assault or like gender-based violence in general in any way or form. They'll relate with it. Relate, right? Sympathize, empathize with this person, and also it's like it gives a voice to something that maybe they've been holding silent, right? And it's powerful. And I've gotten people telling you like, wow, what inspired this, because immediately they saw something that they read to, it spoke to them, right? All right. And yeah.
All right. So what has been your general, feel that you've gotten, especially from survivors and young people around your art, given that it is themed around, something that we're keeping talking about it, but it seems as if there's no end at the end of the tunnel, that is gender-based violence?
Yes. So actually there's a kind of a gap between, just in art in general. It's not as a broad way of passing like people are used to getting like a message passed across. And so what I found is that more like of the interactions I've had with people is like they are actually at first they're so fascinated, they're like, wow, so it's impressive that you can actually use art to paint something like this, something this deep, something this emotional. And it's for me, it's like I try to to show people that if you face this kind of problem, like art, you can find a way, right? It does not have to be something vocal, yeah? But a way that you can use to talk about it, right? To maybe discuss it, get it to somebody in a form. So for me, my art, it has kind of like given people an idea that I have, or the survivors, like, oh, I can use
you can use that art as a platform to just let it.
Yeah, as a platform for expression, right? Yeah.
Right. So from the units, or rather the pieces that you have brought with you to studio,
yes,
ironically, the only masculine resemblance or participation is in this particular piece.
Yes.
Where clearly there's a lady at the front, and then there's the arms of a man. Clearly, tell me about this, because the question about gender-based violence has always been a gender issue, and the men seem to be more likely the perpetrators and not the victims.
Yes.
Explain that. And we all know that anyone is a candidate for gender-based violence, but women seem to be getting the short end of the stick.
Yes. So actually that painting and this one, it's kind of contrasting in a way, but they are showing, talking about the same message. This one is, there's this lady who is, she's smiling, right? And behind her, there's a figure of a man standing, and they're both flexing. And they are showing, like they're powerful. So this painting, I call it Powerful Together. Powerful Together. Powerful Together.
All right.
And so around the topic for gender-based violence, it's kind of should be, as I said, my work is to empower and to educate, right? And around this, like, as men, we have like the responsibility, right, to not bring down, ladies, to not make them feel less, right, but to make them, feel equal, to make them feel empowered, to make them feel safe. And they should, they should know that, we stand behind them, right?
Yeah, we stand behind them as men.
Yes, as men, right? Okay. Yes. Should not create this world where, we feel, they feel like, we're like this alphas, and, we have the power over them to dictate, what they do, what they feel. Yeah. But rather, we should, work, cohesively, work together, right? And just create an environment where everybody is, feel safe, everybody is happy, right?
Okay.
Yeah, protected,
so, together.
Together, we're stronger together.
We are stronger together, indeed, because there's been that conversation that men are lacking in the conversation around gender-based violence.
Yes.
So it's good to have that kind of word. But then art has always been something more elite. far removed from a majority of people. How are you bridging the agenda that you have to highlight gender-based violence and also opening up the space to more people? Because art, let's say, is a particular niche. Yeah, yes. You require a particular palette. You know, it has to be, not everybody understands art. How are you breaking it down?
So actually, I think on that point, the reason why art feels like it's a very particular niche is like through my interactions, the exhibitions that I have previously, where, you know, there were like schools, primary schools, you know, secondary schools coming to, you know, to view whatever is going on. What I've come to realize is that a lot of these students, a lot of schools do not offer art as a subject, right?
Yeah.
Maybe if they do, maybe some, like, it's in a very small capacity, but they do not offer art as a main subject, as something like a student can learn, right?
Well, under 844 system, there was art and craft. Right now under CBC, yeah. I think it's under creative arts. So it's a combination of music, art, and all that stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
I might not have all the details on that, but through my interactions myself, is that because I've interacted with these kids directly, you know, talk to them, like, do you have art? Do you learn? They're like, yeah, but you know, we don't. They don't know what acrylic paint is. They don't know any sort of paint, right? Maybe they draw, yeah. right? But they don't really know art the way it should be. And art is a very powerful way of, you know, I think like they should teach kids like art should be a form of expression.
Yes.
So from the moment, you know, they're learning about art, it's not about just drawing. Because I think even what even adults would think is like when you're doing art, you're going to become a designer, you'll be drawing cars, you know, designing tables, chairs, yeah.
Did you study art or have you learned the works on time?
So I've... actually, like through, luckily for me, the system I've been in, the school I've been in from primary, they offered art, and it was very well done.
All right, so it gave you a background.
Yeah, a background.
So
yeah.
From where you sit, Leleti, why do you think art stands a better chance, you know, for advocacy against GBV? We have seen people do marches, you know, sign petition, but still the numbers are as high. Do you believe that art is an answer to this?
Yes, so I believe art is there's a lot of ways that, you know, people can go into, because not everybody will be an artist, right? And not everybody might actually appreciate art, because, you know, some people, as I've said, they've not been exposed to it, right? But it's about time art actually got the spotlight as well, because art, it's everybody, right? Like, you have access to a pen, to a pencil, right? And, you know, when you're learning art, art is about expressing yourself, right? Also telling a story. You can be telling your story, you can be telling somebody's story, right? And art is a way that anybody can write down their emotion, you know. Art is a way that anybody can write, paint a message, right? And show it to the world and say, like, this is what's happening, and you can see it visually, right? So I think art, you know, and there's a lot of forms of art. For me, I'm a visual artist, right? But art is a way, it can direct, it's very sentimental, it's very emotional, it's striking, emotional as well. And I think it's something that, you know, we should, like, as artists, right? And also just institutions, you know, organizations that, you know, deal with these sorts of issues, to explore this
incorporate art.
Incorporate art, yes.
So from an artist's point of view, what challenges maybe have you gone through addressing, you know, gender-based violence through your art?
So what I've experienced is that, okay, as much as like, you know, it's not a very like a lot of, you know, corporations, since they don't incorporate it, like a lot of people do not use art, you know, as a form of you know, expression. You'll find that it's not easy to just it's like to use it, right? To have like the platform to actually, you know, use the art as, you know, a way to pass a message, right? And a lot of people will not think of, let me go to an art exhibition, because, you know, to understand what gender-based violence is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like...
So there's that disjointed, you know, communication, or rather just artists far removed from gender-based violence. But then we want to bridge the gap. So if you're given an opportunity, you know, right now where you're seated, you know, to pick out stakeholders, either institutions or individuals you'd want to work with to create more awareness and advocacy on gender-based violence, who would be your top 3?
So I think, okay, my top 3 would the Center for Reproductive Rights.
Yes.
That would be my number 1. Actually had an exhibition with them. The second one, as an interesting question, I had actually, I would say maybe the United Nations, right? Yes. Because they deal with a lot of, you know, human rights, right?
Yes.
The third, I think, the Wangari Maathai Foundation. Right?
NGOs.
The NGO Wangari Maathai Foundation, because Wangari Maathai is also actually, let's say, an inspiration for me, because her work, one of her main focuses was women's rights and children, right? You know, teaching children, you know, to be leaders, and women to rise up and, you know, speak for themselves. And I think those 3 organizations, if I had like an opportunity to, you know, to work with them.
Those are the people you'd want to work with.
Yeah.
So what do your fans expect of you in the next maybe medium term or short term? Maybe have your own exhibition somewhere, SELETI?
Yes, SELETI. So ideally, yes, I would love to have an exhibition. In fact, that's what I really, you know, want to, is to have like exhibitions, right? Where, you know, like people can come and interact, right? Give artists, you know, a platform to come and showcase, and so that people can see what art is all about. And so the exhibitions, that's what I really, you know, I would really want to have that, yes.
So as we bring this to a close, what message would you send across to survivors of gender-based violence tonight, given that you are pushing the narrative and supporting so that these people get the requisite support that they require?
Yes, so I think what I would tell, you know, the survivors is to remember that their voice will never be taken away, right? They have, you know, the right to voice, right? And they should, you know, always, you know, seek for the organizations that will help them, right? To combat, like, you know, these issues they're facing, right? I would also, you know, urge them to, you know, find their voice, right? Find a voice, find a way. Do not let you know, somebody silence you forever, right? Find your voice, get this issue out there, right? Because I think you need to, if you don't face it head on, right, you'll find that, you know, you'll be suppressed, and you'll just not able, you won't be able to come out and to ever, you know, heal from this thing, you know. It will always be lingering on you, holding you back. You will not make progress, right? Just find a way, find a voice, find people that can, you know, help you, you know, talk about it, you know, and that way, you know, you can find a way to move forward. Yeah.
All right. Very well said. Tonight we have been having a conversation with visual artist that is none other than RAPHAEL SELETI there, who's brought some remarkable pieces here in studio. He has chosen to use his art, you know, to create more awareness and advocacy in matters gender-based violence, as will culminate the 16 days of activism there, amid growing concern on the number of cases of gender-based violence that keep on getting reported. And worse so, those who are in this particular value chain say that silence, as depicted here, is what is robbing the survivors of justice. So find a voice, as you said, SELETI, find a voice, get a platform, speak about it. No one can take that from you. And men are not left behind in this conversation when it comes to gender-based violence. And as you can see right here, through this particular piece, I think it was, we do better, we work.
We're stronger together.
We are stronger together. On that note, that brings us up to our conversation on gender-based violence on this side of studio. I'll be ushering in my colleague on the sports